to eliminate their existing monthly mortgage payments, and that AAG is America's trusted reverse mortgage lender with a 93% customer satisfaction rate. So join Sandy, Greg, and 500,000 other Americans.
Call 1-800-840-1837 now to receive a new free information kit, including a reverse mortgage guide and DVD, personal stories from people like you, and a brand new family guide for children and loved ones, all absolutely free with no obligation. Call 1-800-840-1837 today.
It started long ago. The joy of giving something everything you've got. It takes passion. And it's not letting up anytime soon. If you're eligible for Medicare, you might know it only covers about 80% of your Part B medical expenses. The rest is up to you. Call now and find out about an AARP Medicare Supplement Insurance Plan insured by United Healthcare Insurance Company. Like all standardized Medicare supplement insurance plans, they help pay some of the difference and could save you in out-of-pocket medical costs. You'll be able to visit any doctor or hospital that accepts Medicare patients. Plus, there are no networks and virtually no referrals needed. So don't wait. Call now to request a free decision guide to help you understand Medicare and which AARP Medicare supplement plan might work best for you. There's a range to choose from, depending on your needs and your budget, and they all travel with you, anywhere in the country. Best of all, you'll be joining the millions who have already enrolled in the only Medicare supplement insurance plans endorsed by AARP, an organization serving the needs of people 50 and over for generations. Remember, all Medicare supplement insurance plans help cover some of what Medicare doesn't pay and could save you in out-of-pocket medical costs. You'll be able to choose any doctor or hospital that accepts Medicare patients with virtually no referrals needed. So call now to request a free decision guide and learn more. After all, when you're going the distance, it's nice to have the experience and commitment to go along with you. Keep dreaming. Keep doing. Go long.
Right now, a quick look at what's still to come this hour of Happening Now. Court documents revealing that Toronto Mayor Rob Ford may have offered cash and a car in exchange for a video that shows him smoking crack. We'll take a closer look at that scenario. Also, police in California searching for this pair in what might be a kidnapping last night. The surveillance video shows a woman at a bus stop and a man stopping her and forcefully pulling her away. I will show you more of that video and give you the details we do know. And child advocacy groups upset with Santa over NORAD's decision to use fighter jets to escort St. Nick on his travels Christmas Eve. The real story there, John, coming up.
Can't wait for that one. Back to those budget talks on Capitol Hill now. Lawmakers are working hard to come up with a new deal that would avoid another government shutdown. But those involved in the negotiations say those talks probably will come down to the wire. Let's talk about it with Angela McGlowan, a Fox News political analyst. So you've got Senator Patty Murray, Democrat from Washington. She heads the Senate Budget Committee. You've got Paul Ryan, Republican from Wisconsin, head of the Budget Committee in the House. And those two are basically the only ones involved in this negotiation. We have had so much trouble coming to budget deals in recent years. Do you think this is the best way to proceed, Angela?
I think it's the best way to proceed, John, and this has worked in the past. Unfortunately, with the 113th Congress is now known as the Do-Nothing Congress, and with midterm elections just around the corner, it's Congress's job to pass a budget. They have the power of the purse. So Senator Murray and Ryan, Congressman Ryan, they met with 29 members of their budget committees, and what they're trying to decide on is what cuts to make and what spending cuts to make to the budget. I believe that they will come to some type of conclusion, but the bottom line is this. The House wants to go out of session December 13th, the Senate on the 20th. So they have until Friday the 13th to come up with some resolution.
They've got $91 billion more in sequester cuts that are coming up in the middle of January. I mean, that axe is going to fall if they don't come up with some kind of a deal, right?
Exactly. And Republicans, they want to stop the mandatory budget cuts to the defense. So in other words, they want to increase defense spending, whereas Democrats, they want to increase spending on medical research and education. So therefore, you're going to have some type of difference in opinion on where we increase spending and where we cut spending.
Every household in America has, virtually every household has really been through the ringer ever since the financial crisis of 2008. Virtually everybody has taken a hard look at their budgets, cut a little bit here, a little bit there. Why is it so tough to do the same thing in Washington? Why is it so tough to impose, say, a spending freeze on all federal agencies or, God forbid, even a spending cut?
Because unfortunately, John, we have put politics in Washington, D.C. over policy. And you have lobbyists on Capitol Hill right now chomping at the bit because they want to protect their special interests. But members of Congress need to do their job and now put policy over politics, because self-preservation is the first law of nature. And if they don't do their job, and if we have another very public government shutdown, I believe that people are going to vote their conscience at the polls.
Has anybody in Washington noticed that the Chinese, for instance, are getting especially belligerent right now, claiming this new, larger air defense identification zone? I mean, there are military threats out there, and cutting, admittedly, there is waste and fraud at the Pentagon that can be cut. But the Pentagon took a huge hit last time around under the sequester. Is cutting, tens of billions more the way to go right now?
I don't think that is the way to go, and most Republicans don't think that that's the way to go. But, John, if they don't come up with some agreement, you will have those sequester cuts in the defense budget. And, again, Republicans want to increase the defense budget, whereas Democrats, they want to increase the budget for education and medical research. So I believe that, listen, you had Forbes magazine that did an article that college students can actually balance the country's budget. Why can't Congress do it?
Yeah, that is a very good question. Last time around, we had the super committee. We had House and Senate members, a handful from each party, getting together in a room, coming up with proposals. That ultimately went nowhere. So do you think the idea of having the two heads of the Budget Committee in the House and the Senate use a smaller group, get them to knock heads in their caucuses, is that the way to go?
I think that's the way to go. Again, John, this has worked in the past, and the super committee did nothing. And this Congress is known, again, as the do-nothing Congress. Since the inception of the 113th Congress, they've only passed 60 laws, John, and that's deplorable. And if they don't do something, if this committee does not come up with a conclusion, we're going to see deja vu all over again, where we'll have a partial government shutdown, and that shouldn't be. And, John, I want to note, in 2009 and 2010, when Democrats had the White House, the House, and the Senate, where you had Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid, we didn't pass a budget those years. When Republicans took back over the House, that's where you had the gridlock.
All right, we will see what happens. Supposedly, there are signs in Washington that this deal actually could get done. That would be an amazing achievement for this Congress. Angela McGlowan, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, from our politics to a controversy that's plaguing a politician north of our border. New legal troubles for Toronto's crack-smoking mayor, Rob Ford. Court documents are showing that Ford may have tried to buy a video that shows him smoking crack by offering suspected drug dealers $5,000 and a car. Let's bring our legal panel, trial attorney Heather Hansen and former prosecutor Phil Snyder. You might have heard John giggling over here, because when you start looking at this case, it's like, is this for real, or is this a reality show? What is really going on here? Still, Heather, the mayor hasn't been charged with anything. I mean, we're doing a legal panel, but he hasn't been charged. Could he be charged here, though, for offering money for this video?
You ask a layperson, you say,
oh, go ahead.
Is this mayor good? Is this for me?
Go ahead, Phil. Go ahead.
All right, sorry. You'd ask, is this mayor going to be charged? And a layperson would say, of course he's going to be charged. But the law says that he can only be charged if he's actually extorting by threat or violence or coercion. And from the evidence we have, the only person that may have extorted anyone is his driver, Mr. Lisi. So at this point, he will not be arrested for extortion.
Heather, what do you think?
I think that there's a potential claim here, Jenna, for obstruction of justice. If the police can prove that he tried to get that tape to hide it as evidence so that he would not be prosecuted for the drug charge, that's a real charge. And Jenna, that carries a much greater sentence than the drug charge would. In Canada, a first offense can be as little as 6 months and up to 7 years. Obstruction of justice, he could face up to 10 years. So if they decide to pursue it that way, this is a serious charge against the mayor.
Heather, would you pursue it that way?
I would. I mean, I think that the public is calling for some sort of punishment for this gentleman, and I think that this is a real case that can be pursued. I also think that, you know, as Phil said, there's an extortion element to this case, and that's against the drug dealers. If they can flip against the mayor and say that he was trying to buy this tape so that he could hide it from the police, I think that they have a real case for obstruction of justice.
In the meantime, Phil, we're showing some of the greatest hits of Mayor Ford over the last couple of weeks, a highlight reel, if you will, of all the things that he's been through. I mean, he's admitted that he broke the law and that he smoked crack, and there's a video of it, but yet there still have been no charges over it, and that's a little confusing. If you break the law and there's video of it, why would there be no charges?
You know, it's a very good point. And again, to the layperson, it says, what are you doing, Canadian government? Why don't you arrest this guy? But the bottom line is that they don't know what he smoked. Just because he's pounding on the table saying, I smoke crack cocaine, they don't have that crack cocaine, which means they can't test that crack cocaine, which means they would never get past a directed verdict because they don't have the goods. And for that reason, I do not think he's going to be arrested for any drug-related charge.
Phil, do you get the sense by looking at this story that maybe there's even a bigger story somehow behind it, that that maybe the goal of the law enforcement is to go after this drug ring? It just seems a little bit confusing about where the priority is in this case in general.
I think the priority is being shifted all over the place, but at this point, I think the Canadian government is saying, we have egg on our face, we have this mayor, we want him out, and they are doing everything in their power to try to make that happen. But the problem is, right now, at least at this point, they don't have the goods, and without an arrest, there's really not much else they can do.
You know, it's interesting, Heather, even in our script as we're talking about this story, we're saying that Ford may have tried to buy the video. Apparently, there's not enough evidence to show that he did, or maybe that's what they're working through. What about the timing on this? We're just learning about this now. Obviously, this happened a little while ago. How long do lawyers have before they file charges, if they end up doing that?
Well, they have to complete their investigation, Jenna. This all came out as part of a case against one of Mayor Ford's friends or colleagues, his limo driver. So there's a lot to be investigated upon. The people in the gang were speaking in Somali, so there's some question about the translation there and whether it was actually an offer to buy or blackmail. There's a lot to investigate, but there's definitely the potential for further embarrassment at the very least, but legal action against Mayor Ford.
Yeah, further embarrassment at the very least, as you say, Heather. But wow, if that's the least, what's next? You know, what's next to come? Heather, Phil, great to have both of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, they have been tracking Santa's flight path from the North Pole for the last 60 years. Now, some children's advocates say NORAD just crossed a serious line with its latest Santa tracker. We'll tell you about that. And a shocking surveillance video captures what may be a kidnapping. Now police are racing against the clock to figure out exactly what is going on in this video.